This is a true story, sent in by one of our subscribers and edited by me to share with you. To ensure the safety and anonymity of everyone involved, I have changed the names and some details. But the essence of this story is completely true. The sun caressed the city like warm fingers gliding over my skin when I decided to give in to this temptation. A small pet shop, scented with the sweet aroma of pet food mixed with the bold temptation of freshly ground coffee from the cafe next door. My heels clicked on the floor like a sensual melody, echoing the promises in the minds of those who turned their heads to watch me walk by. My dress, tight where it needed to be and loose where I knew it would be even more dangerous, danced in the breeze, deliciously brushing against my bare thighs, if you know what I mean. I walked into the shop and slipped between the shelves like a walking sin. My red-painted nails absent-mindedly scratched at the cages until I felt a calling. It wasn't a sound or a smell, it was a look. A puppy with fur as black as velvet, on forbidden nights and golden eyes, that promised secrets whispered in your ear. Shadow. I approached slowly, savoring the moment as if to prolong the pleasure. When our eyes met, it was as if electricity filled the air. Holding him in my arms was inevitable, his small warm body beating against my chest. So intimate, so necessary. And that warmth spread to places I thought were dormant, if you know what I mean. A saleswoman approached with her practiced smile, but I was already lost. My fingers ran through Shadow's fur with the slowness and precision of someone who knows exactly how to tease, how to excite. And something inside me knew he would be more than just a companion. He would be my perfect excuse to rediscover forgotten pleasures. I left the store with the feeling of carrying a dirty secret in my chest, and oh, how delicious it was. Shadow didn't just invade my home, he invaded every hidden corner of my loneliness. The first night was almost a sensual ritual. After exploring the rooms, he found his way to me, sprawled carelessly on the rug, my dress riding dangerously up my thighs as I moved. If you know what I mean. The warmth of his little body against mine drew sighs that, if overheard, could easily have been mistaken for moans. Those licks, innocent in the eyes of an ordinary onlooker, sparked sensations in me I didn't even know were still alive. Each touch was like a little provocation, a subtle invitation to let the mind wander to places where you don't walk with shoes on. As time went by, I started going to parties again, receptions where the wine flowed like liquid promises, and the glances were as sharp as knives sliding over exposed skin. Dresses that hugged every curve, heels that made my body sway to just the right rhythm. Mouths, whispering indecent proposals in every corner of the night, even if they were never spoken aloud, if you know what I mean. That night, as I was coming back from yet another one of those parties, something inside me could no longer be contained. I took off my shoes with a sigh of relief, and, with the music of my own breathing filling the room, I began to dance. At first shy, then completely uninhibited. The dim light cast my shadow on the walls, and it was impossible to ignore how much my skin longed to be touched, and not just by me. Shadow was watching me from the couch, eyes alert and breathing heavily. It was as if he were the silent guardian of my darkest secrets. I moved Koka toward him, touch toward myself, Chumur toward the emptiness of the night that now seemed so full of promise and sin. And when my body finally collapsed onto the couch, spent, with Shadow curled up in my arms, I knew that everything rising within me could no longer be ignored. The nights became our silent dance. Shadow was growing quickly, and with him, something inside me was blossoming. An ancient hunger, covered in dust and neglect, now throbbed beneath my skin. I was no longer the same woman who had walked into that store. Something had changed, something that refused to be tamed. On a particularly humid Friday, I came home exhausted, my skin still warm from the glances and touches, some not entirely accidental, that I had collected throughout the day. My clothes felt heavy on my body, every seam pressing against my sensitive flesh in all the right places. I walked into the house, kicking off my shoes in the hallway, and I caught the familiar scent. The shadow mingled with my woody cologne, which seemed to grow thicker, more sinful. I was in a state of internal combustion, if you know what I mean. He came running, tail wagging, his golden eyes sparkling in the dim light of the room. I smiled at him and threw myself onto the couch, letting my dress ride up my thighs in a most indecent way. It was as if I was daring the very air itself to touch me. Shadow leapt up, nestling between my legs, his head pressed against my sensitive skin. A shiver ran down my spine, igniting a warm, damp fire inside me. The sensation was delicious, torturous. I played with the hem of my dress, rolling the fabric between my fingers, letting myself drift into dangerous daydreams. My breathing grew heavier, and the room seemed to close in around the two of us. Shadow looked at me, curious, almost as if he were in on it. It was as if he understood and accepted all my unspoken sins, if you know what I mean. The following nights became a succession of little rituals: a long bath, a light dress, a solitary dance. The feel of water running over my body was almost an erotic prelude, each drop tracing forbidden paths. Every strand of hair stuck to the back of my neck, a whispered promise. I moved through the house like a witch drunk on her own spells. And always, always, there was Shadow, my little dark guardian, my silent accomplice. Sometimes, I stroked him in an almost possessive way, my fingers sinking into his soft fur with an intensity that went beyond mere affection. It was as if, through him, I was touching something more primal, more wild. One night, loneliness and desire reached their peak. I lay down on the couch, wearing only a thin, almost see-through nightgown. The breeze coming from the open window brushed against my exposed skin, giving me goosebumps from the tips of my toes all the way up to my neck. The slow, melancholic music filled the room, creating an atmosphere so intimate that it would be indecent to try to describe it with words. But I know you understand me. Shadow climbed onto the couch and snuggled up next to me. The warmth of his body against mine was both comforting and exciting. My fingers slid over him, absorbed, as if they were trying to forget a little, or perhaps to remember everything that was dormant within me. Every movement felt as natural as it was dangerous, like walking along the edge of a cliff, wanting to fall. It was at that moment, in that mix of desire, tenderness, and surrender, that I realized it wasn't just about loneliness, it was about reunion. I wasn't looking for someone else to fill my emptiness. I was searching for myself, my skin, my thirst, my hunger, my fire. The Shadow had just awakened what was already living, silently, within me. With my eyes closed, I could feel the night embracing us. My breath and his mingled in an intimate symphony, a hymn to the parts of myself I had forgotten, abandoned. And in that warm dawn, as the wind whispered secrets through the cracks in the window, I made peace with my own flesh, with my own soul. Shadow was sleeping soundly against me, a sigh of contentment vibrating through his small body. I slowly stroked his head, feeling the softness of his fur beneath my fingers, feeling alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. The darkness was no longer frightening. It was a cloak that wrapped around me, that welcomed me. I was a light in the darkness. I was a fire in the night. I was finally whole. Who knows what else life might have in store for me? Well, that's a story for another night, if you know what I mean. And that's all for today. This story is over, but if you click on the video above, you can find more stories like this one. Thank you to everyone who left a comment. Don't forget to like the channel and subscribe so you don't miss my next videos.